There are words a woman hears and forgets within seconds, and then there are words that stop her, words that make her pause, reflect, and quietly feel something shift inside. Most men never learn the difference. They compliment beauty, charm, or looks, and wonder why nothing changes. But the compliments that truly matter don't chase attention. They touch identity. They make a woman feel seen, understood, and emotionally safe all at once. In this video, I'm going to show you 5 compliments women can't ignore, not because they're clever, but because they speak directly to the heart. Stay until the end, because the final one changes everything. Comment your location, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. Most men think compliments are about attraction, but they are really about recognition. That distinction changes everything. When you compliment a woman's appearance, you're acknowledging something obvious, something the world already confirms for her every day. It doesn't challenge her thinking, and it doesn't invite emotional engagement. Compliments that create real attraction operate on a different level. They speak to identity, not aesthetics. Every person carries a private story about who they believe they are. That story is shaped by experiences, struggles, values, and quiet ambitions that rarely get acknowledged. When a compliment reflects that inner narrative, it lands with weight. It tells her you're not just looking at her, you're perceiving her. That perception is powerful because it signals awareness, discernment, and emotional intelligence, qualities that naturally elevate a man in her eyes. From a psychological perspective, people feel closest to those who validate their self-concept. When you articulate something she already senses about herself, but hasn't heard expressed clearly, it creates alignment. It feels familiar and new at the same time. This is why comments like "you're beautiful" fade quickly, while observations about her composure under pressure, her thoughtfulness, or the way she carries responsibility stay with her. They resonate because they affirm identity rather than decorate the surface. There's also a philosophical element at play. Humans are wired to seek meaning, not praise. A compliment tied to identity suggests depth. It implies that you notice patterns, not just appearances. That you observe how she thinks, how she chooses, how she responds to the world. This positions you as someone who engages with life consciously, not passively. Attraction often grows in that space of perceived depth, where conversations feel real and presence feels intentional. What matters just as much is sincerity. Identity-based compliments cannot be generic. They require attention. You have to listen more than you speak. You have to notice how she shows up when no one is watching. The moment a compliment feels borrowed or performative, it loses its power. But when it's grounded in real observation, it creates emotional safety. And emotional safety is one of the strongest foundations of attraction. This is where many men misunderstand confidence. True confidence isn't about impressing. It's about being grounded enough to recognize another person clearly and express it without agenda. When a compliment is offered without expectation, it becomes a gift, not a transaction. That alone separates you from the majority. If you remember one thing, let it be this. Attraction deepens when a woman feels understood, not admired. Learn to see who she is beneath the surface, and your words will start to matter in ways you never expected. Once you understand that compliments are about recognition, the next layer becomes impossible to ignore. Timing and delivery shape meaning more than the words themselves. The same sentence can feel profound or forgettable depending on when it's spoken and the energy behind it. This is where attraction either deepens or disappears. Psychologically, people don't just process what is said. They interpret intention. A compliment delivered too early can feel intrusive. One offered too frequently can feel needy. And one spoken at the wrong emotional moment can feel disconnected, even manipulative. Women, in particular, are highly sensitive to these subtleties because they're reading emotional context, not just language. They notice pauses, eye contact, tone, and whether your words feel grounded or performative. This is why the most impactful compliments often arrive unexpectedly, in moments of calm rather than intensity. When you acknowledge something about her after she's shared a thought, handled a situation, or revealed a vulnerability, the compliment feels earned. It aligns with the emotional moment instead of interrupting it. In that alignment, trust forms and attraction follows naturally. Delivery matters just as much. A compliment that feels like a pitch loses its power. When words are rushed, exaggerated, or followed by a need for validation, they create pressure. Attraction doesn't thrive under pressure. It grows in spaces where there is ease, a steady voice, relaxed body language, and the absence of expectation signal confidence. They suggest that you are comfortable with yourself, whether the compliment is received warmly or not. Philosophically, this comes down to presence. When you are present, you're responding rather than performing. Your compliment becomes an observation, not a strategy. Observations feel real because they don't ask for anything in return. They exist in the moment and then release it. That release is what makes the interaction feel clean and authentic. There's also an important distinction between intention and outcome. If your goal is to get a reaction, the compliment carries weight. If your intention is simply to express recognition, the weight disappears and paradoxically, the impact increases. People trust those who are not trying to control how they're perceived. This is why restraint is so powerful. Not every moment needs a compliment. Silence, when intentional, can build more tension than words ever could. When a compliment finally arrives, it stands out because it's rare and precise. It feels considered, not habitual. If you want your words to matter, slow down. Pay attention to the emotional temperature of the moment and your own internal state. Speak when your presence is calm and your intention is clean. Because in the end, it's not what you say that creates attraction. It's the steadiness you bring when you say it. Once identity is acknowledged and timing is understood, the final layer becomes the most subtle and the most powerful, emotional contrast. This is where compliments stop being pleasant and start becoming unforgettable. Most people praise what is obvious and socially rewarded. Intelligence, beauty, confidence, success. But attraction is rarely sparked by what is already reinforced. It's sparked by what feels newly discovered. Psychologically, contrast activates attention. When a compliment highlights something unexpected, the mind pauses. That pause matters. It creates curiosity, reflection, and internal dialogue. Instead of simply receiving praise, she starts thinking about herself through a new lens. That shift is where emotional engagement begins. You're no longer just part of the conversation, you've become part of her inner world. Emotional contrast works because it bypasses ego and speaks to self-awareness. When you point out something subtle, like how she stays composed when situations get uncomfortable, or how her presence changes the energy in a room without effort, you're not inflating her self-image, you're refining it. That refinement feels intimate. It suggests you notice details others overlook, and that level of perception feels rare. There's also a philosophical depth here. Humans are drawn to those who help them understand themselves better. A compliment that creates contrast doesn't tell her who she should be. It reveals who she already is, but in sharper focus. That's why it lingers. It doesn't close a loop, it opens one. She keeps returning to it, replaying it, testing its truth. Attraction grows in that mental space. This is why exaggerated praise fails. When a compliment feels too big, too flattering, or too safe, it slides off. There's nothing to engage with, but when it carries restraint, when it feels slightly understated yet precise, it invites interpretation. Precision is seductive because it implies thought. It implies presence, and presence is far more compelling than enthusiasm. Contrast also separates intention from validation. You're not complimenting to be liked, you're observing and expressing. That distinction matters deeply. The moment a woman senses that your words aren't trying to earn approval, trust increases. And trust is what allows attraction to deepen without resistance. This requires courage. You have to be willing to say something real instead of something safe. Real doesn't mean risky or inappropriate. It means honest and specific. It means trusting your perception and expressing it calmly without dressing it up. When done correctly, the compliment doesn't raise her defenses, it lowers them. What ties all of this together is awareness. Seeing beyond the surface, speaking without urgency, highlighting what's rarely named. When those elements align, your words stop being compliments and start becoming experiences. So here's the reflection to carry with you. Don't aim to impress her. Aim to reveal something true. Because when a woman feels seen in a way she's not used to, attraction doesn't need to be forced. It unfolds on its own.